What if I was to tell you that focusing on self-improvement is actually the thing that's keeping you stuck? And not because growth is bad, but because you're using it to try and fix yourself instead of trying to build yourself. And that's the mindset that's quietly destroying your success the exact same way that it did for me. If you're new here, then my name is Aaron Moses. I'm an entrepreneur who was in $40,000 worth of debt just a couple years ago with no special skills or qualifications to now making over $20,000 in a single month and helping scale a multi-million-dollar company. And I make videos to show you guys a lot of the lessons that I had to learn the hard way to hopefully make sure that you guys can avoid the mistakes that I had to make in order to see the progress that I've seen so far. So I've tried to optimize and plan my routines more times than I can count. And for years, I thought that the answer was simple: improve more, be disciplined more, and fix more. But no matter how much I achieved, for some reason, I always still felt behind. And it took me years and years of trial and error until I finally figured it out. And so in this video, I'm gonna walk you through the 5 things that completely changed the game for me and really helped me to start improving on myself and actually start seeing a level of success that I was happy with. So let me take you back to a weekend a couple years ago. I just finished building out the perfect weekly routine. It had everything: 5 a.m. wake ups, gym, reading, cold showers, everything that the gurus tell you need to do to be successful. And just writing that out and finishing it, I felt super productive. But what happened is 3 or 4 days in, I'd missed a gym session or I'd slept through one of my alarms. And what happened is, instead of adjusting to that, I just started to spiral. And it wasn't because I'd completely failed everything, it's because in my head, that failure meant something about me. And this is when I started to realize I'm not building discipline or consistency or gaining motivation. I was stuck in a cycle of trying to fix something about me that other people had told me was broken. And that was the massive shift that changed everything for me, because I went from trying to fix myself and doubting myself to actually starting to gain momentum and start finding the success that I'd been trying to find for years. And so the first key shift that I want to walk you guys through is consistency over perfection. So where I used to go wrong, and it's probably the same for you guys, is that I would wait until everything was perfect, the perfect plan, the perfect energy, the perfect timing. And then as soon as I'd mess it up or make a mistake, I'd quit. And this key shift is really important because perfectionism isn't high standards. It's fear of losing that built up identity or accepting that you're not perfect. And that's what's killing your momentum. Confidence isn't built by perfect streaks. It's built by keeping your word to yourself, even down to the smallest things. So something that helped me, and what I want you guys to do, which is gonna sound a bit crazy, is you need to lower the bar. Lower the bar, but don't lower the frequency that you're operating on. For example, instead of saying, hey, I'm gonna work out 6 times a week and build some crazy gym routine, you can do the reverse and say, I'm never gonna miss a day twice. You need to make consistency your identity, not perfectionism. And so the second thing that was a massive shift for me as well was taking action with purpose. Now, one of the things that used to really kill me was staying busy all the time. If I wasn't watching a podcast, I was reading a book. If I wasn't reading a book, I was looking at some Instagram reels or YouTube videos, or I was trying a new course out. And what I was really doing is I was avoiding uncomfortable actions, because you'll know this as well, learning makes you feel productive, but it's just safe. And this is important because clarity doesn't come from thinking, it comes from doing. And action is what builds evidence, and then it's the evidence that's gonna build your confidence. So what I had to start asking myself, and I want you guys to ask this yourself too, is if I'm going to do anything or consume any type of media, how does this move me closer to the goal that I want? Or am I doing it for the sake of doing it? Then you just need to take the uncomfortable step. You don't need the perfect plan, just take the action. All you need is momentum. Which brings me on to the third key shift, which is planning with intention. So a lot of the time when I thought that I was planning well, I was actually planning from emotion. And what I mean by this is my plan would be dependent on how I felt. I'd be motivated Sunday night, and then by Wednesday morning, I'm tired and I don't have the energy to do anything. And so I was creating unrealistic schedules that the bar was so high, it was hard to meet it. And as soon as I didn't, again, I would spiral. And yeah, the fancy color charted spreadsheets and plans look impressive, but they're unrealistic. And this is so crucial because every time you fail along that plan, you end up starting to doubt yourself. But the truth is, it's not you. It's the structure in which you put this plan in place. The easiest way to do this, and this was honestly a game changer for me, is plan for your worst day, not your best day. Imagine if you had 40% energy. What is it that would still move the needle for you and keep your momentum going? And then you build around that. Discipline isn't about working harder, it's about designing your life in a smarter way. Now, the fourth thing, and this is probably going to be the hardest to hear for you guys, and it's having the tough conversation. I was the biggest culprit for this, around avoiding friction, whether it was with my partner at the time, friends, family, even friction with myself. I would choose comfort over clarity. And this was such an important lesson for me because I realized that having all that unspoken tension was more draining for me than actually having the hard conversations. And it's that level of avoidance that keeps you stuck where you are and stops you from being able to go where you're trying to go. The most important thing I can say on this is that growth requires discomfort. An easy step for you today is to think about, what conversation have I been postponing, whether it's with my partner or my friend or someone in your family, and have that conversation. It doesn't need to be big, it doesn't need to be dramatic, it just needs to be clear and honest. Clarity is what's going to give you the freedom to operate the way you want to, instead of avoidance, which is just going to create more anxiety than it's worth. And this brings me to the final and probably one of the most important parts of this improvement journey that you're trying to go on, which is self-reflection. The biggest problem that I had was that I was moving way too fast, and I would never pause. I would be tracking goals, but not tracking patterns. So what would happen is that I would repeat the same mistakes and then call it, oh, I'm just trying again. But that wasn't true. And why self-reflection is so crucial is because without it, self-improvement just becomes self-distraction. You don't need more effort, you need more awareness. So an easy way for you to put self-reflection into your life today is, at the end of every week, ask yourself, what did I say I was going to do this week and what did I actually do? And then think about what worked and what didn't, so you know the next week where your focus needs to be. And don't judge yourself. This is about honesty. You have nothing to prove to anyone, you just want to keep making sure that you're growing. And one fact that I can promise you is that self-awareness is going to compound quicker than motivation ever will. If you take nothing else from this video, please take this. You don't need to be constantly fixing yourself. You need to act like someone who respects where they are now and respects the journey they want to take to where they want to be. Taking real action, planning realistically, saying the hard things, and actually reflecting on what you've done so far. That's how true confidence is going to be built. Not through the hype, not through the constant upgrades or the constant changes, but through true alignment. And if you haven't watched my last video all about how to be the most confident version of yourself, I break down why believing in yourself actually makes things worse, and you can watch that video if you click this link here. And you can also go and check my channel out for lots of other videos on how I learned and how I became the person I am today. Until then, I'll see you next time.